My name's Michelle Cox. I born and brought up in Liverpool. My mum was a nurse. I have Caribbean aunties who were also nurses. I was the go-to person and I became head of equality for Liverpool Primary Care Trust. I don't know if I was experiencing discrimination for many years. I didn't look for it, I didn't see it, and I didn't believe it could happen to me. It was approximately 2019. I was managing a team of fantastic nurses, and an individual had been promoted within my team without my knowledge and promoted to the same band as me. I was undermined, it was rude, but there was something going on that was allowing promotions to go on without interviews. You can't quite put your finger on it, and you start thinking you must be paranoid.
A very common theme is lots of little things, which we call microaggressions, being missed off email lists, not being invited to important meetings, being silenced, not being told about jobs that were being advertised. What happened to Michelle was the accumulation of precisely those sorts of things.
Maybe I had my blinkers on, maybe I didn't want to face the very ugly truth that this was institutionalised racism. It just snowballed, that I was left with no other choice, really, except to put my concerns in writing.
You want to raise a concern about racism. It takes a lot of courage, because you know that the consequences of raising a concern are, firstly, it's unlikely to be successful, and secondly, it might make things worse. If it gets as far as being a formal complaint, there's a lot of pressure to accept that, well, the manager didn't behave well, but it wasn't racism. And crucially, if you do want to actually go to a tribunal, it is expensive and extremely time-consuming, and it is likely that you might have to leave the employer that you are with.
I got called into the witness stand and can only describe it as aggressive cross-examination by the barristers. Felt like I was in a criminal court, making out that I'd made it up and I had a chip on my shoulder, and it's not like I'm suggesting it was.
One of the things that racism does, it convinces us that it doesn't really exist. There's a whole group of people here that can't get promotion. There's a whole group of people here who are facing discrimination from patients or whatever. Even though data says, yes, there's some stuff going on in our organisation, when someone pops up and says, hang on a minute, I'm actually experiencing this stuff, it becomes an individualised problem. It becomes something that they have to own, they have to prove, and they have to advocate for.
I'd waited from the September until the February. I remember I was with a friend of mine and I could see the legal team flashing on my phone. So I'd grab the phone and all I can hear is, Michelle, you've won. Not just won, but this is a landmark win. This is unanimous by all of the judges.
I think there are two things that NHS organisations need to do if they're serious about tackling racism, and we summarise them in the conclusions of the report. The first is, leaders have to be prepared to make themselves uncomfortable about race, to listen with attention to the evidence, the lived experience of black and minority ethnic staff, and to start by assuming that it's likely that what they're saying is true, because it takes such courage to raise the issue. The second one is they have to stop waiting for individual members of staff to raise concerns.
Individually, you can be really powerful, you can really make a difference. So greater awareness of your own understanding of racism and oppression, it could deliver so much benefit if you were able to use that awareness.
I think the message that I'd like to give to senior leaders is stop being defensive. Something really quite refreshing to say we've got a problem and we need to address it. We've got to stop saying we are where we are. We've got to stop saying we've got a long way to go. You've had a long time to do it. That's my response.